Hi everybody, it's Laquita, and I'm coming to you this week to work on tag number 3 for the hashtag 52 handmade tags hosted by Ann Brooke, and there'll be a link in the description box if you want to go over and check out her channel and her information about doing this project. So I've decided to do, well, what Ann had asked us to do this week is fill your tag with little strips of fabric that are folded in half. And what I have here is some laces, some little lace pieces. But if this were just a piece of cotton fabric, it's cut at 1 inch wide, and it is cut long enough to fill your card, going across that way. And then, of course, you fold it in half, and you stitch it on by stitching it, opening it up and stitching on your fold line to attach it to your fabric. So that's what she had suggested to do for the week. I am going to do that, but I'm going to be using laces instead of cotton fabric. So let's get my little holes poked here in my card. I'm working on my felt pad today. These things come in so handy. I really love this felt pad. You can get them in all different sizes on, I got mine on Amazon. And I iron on it all the time. That's mainly, what it's used for is if you're a quilter. Keep it right beside your sewing machine with your iron plugged in, and you can press all of your things that you need to press when you're quilting. So we've got that part done. Okay, so I picked out a gold satin fabric that I'm going to use as my base, and then I've also picked out a lace, and I'm going to use this really pretty lace, and I only need like one little scallop. I can cut it right down, right down through there to fit on the card, and that will be perfect as far as the width. And then I will cut this one, excuse me, I have a frog in my throat today. I will cut this one at the same width, and then I'll tack them together. So I'm going to go and trim these down to size, and then I'll show you how I'm going to sew them together. Okay, I have cut those pieces to the size that I need to fit on this card. So it'll go, somewhere along there, as long as I get it high enough so that it covers my holes at the top. And then this little lace will fit right on top of there. And I want to make sure that those little scalloped corners are high enough so that my needle will catch those when I stitch it to the card. So that's about the height of where I need to put it. So I'm just going to pin this together. And then I'm not going to cut it off at the bottom just yet because I'm not exactly sure how much of that fabric I'm going to need at the bottom. So I'm just going to leave that down there for now. Okay. And I already have a needle threaded. It's sticking right here in my pad. I'm using a teeny tiny little needle, and I'm using a gold thread. And so I'm just going to take little tiny stitches. Wherever there is a flower that I can catch, I'll go ahead and use the flower to attach it to the fabric. But, in the areas where, like here, where there's not anything, I'll actually have to, show my stitches. So I'll try and make them as tiny as I can so that they don't show. But, when you've got something to hide your stitches in, like this decorative part of the lace, then you definitely want to take advantage of it and use that. But so I'm just going to continue to go all the way around and attach these two together so that they will work as if they are one piece of fabric that I'm going to use to cover the card. So I'm just going to continue to do this and work my way around, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. I actually might come back and show you what the stitches look like. With that, I'm going to do here on the side so that you have an idea of what I'm talking about as far as, you know, doing tiny stitches so that they don't show. Okay, I wanted to show you here where I'm taking these tiny little stitches. I've already done one. You can kind of see it right in there. Just a little tiny stitch right there. So I'm going to continue and take little tiny stitches. And sewing on the tool, you have to make sure that you actually catch the tool, because if I make the mistake and go, you know, too close together with my stitches, I'll completely miss, you know, the tool has little holes in it, so you don't want to go up and down in the same hole and completely miss the tool and it doesn't get attached. So you just have to make sure that you're taking stitches tiny enough so that you can actually see the indentation from the stitches there, but it's not that noticeable. So I'm just going to continue on around. Okay, I have stitched the two together now. You can see all my stitching across the back. And the little stitches on the front are, I can see them, but they're not that noticeable. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, so that would go like that on the tag. And so my little rows of lace and tulle that I have cut out, I don't know if I even mentioned that I cut out tulle, but what I did is I took a lace, this is the lace that I used, and I used the top layer off of this lace. I cut a little piece off, and so that's what was, you know, from there. And so measuring from the scallop, from the widest part of the lace to the edge, from edge to edge, is about 1 inch. And then I folded them in half and I pressed them. And I also cut out pieces of tulle. And the tulle has a bit of a gold shimmer to it. I don't know if you can see it or not, but goes well with this fabric, with this lace here. So the way I intend to put this together is I'll start with the lace one, and I'm going to go, I think, across at an angle, maybe like that. And then so I'll put on the lace piece, I'll put on the tulle, and I'm actually going to do 2 pieces of tulle. And then I'll do another piece of lace, and then 2 pieces of tulle again, and then end with a piece of lace. And that's all I'm going to do as far as that technique. Now, this is the part that Anne asked us to do on our tags, so I'm only going to do that much on my tag. The rest of the tag will be decorated with some other things, so that's just kind of my take on what I'm doing. So I'll stitch the first one on. So I think I want it to go across kind of like that right there. I hope you can see it. That doesn't need to be there right now, but I think I want it to go at an angle like that. So let me just open it up, and if I put my pin right where the fold line is, that will give me a guide. Because, you know, when you're using a lace, you can't see your fold line, so that pin will help to guide me in the direction I need to go. So I've got my needle threaded, and I'm not even working in the camera. Sorry about that. Okay. All right, so just start taking our little stitches And so what you're doing is you're sewing right, you're following your fold line and stitching it on. So of course, because I can't see my fold line, that's why my pen will help to guide me. You could always use a, a pen that, like that Dritz fading ink pen, and that would help you too to see where your fold line's at. So this is kind of just the boring part of it. But I'll stitch this one on, and then next I'll do a tulle. That tulle is really going to be tedious to do. So why does Laquita always pick things that are tedious? I don't know. I don't know. I guess because it's relaxing to me. Tedious doesn't bother me. Okay, so I think that is, there we go. So let's see, next, the tulle, I'm going to put it on. I'm going to layer two of them together because they're really fiddly to work with this tulle. So as Anne was saying, you just butt your fold line of your next piece right up against the one that you just put on there. I'm going to pin that down. This one might be just a tad bit longer than the other one, but I'm not going to cut it off just yet. I can always cut it off later if I need to. So okay, so I'm just going to stitch this one on, following along on the, I could use, because I can see through the tulle, I can actually use the other piece as my guide as to where I need to stitch. So I'm just going to continue doing this and stitching on all of the other pieces, and I'll see you at the end. Okay, I have all of those stitched on, and I think that's plenty for me. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. That's where it would lay on the card. Now, what I've decided to do for the rest of this card, I have a lace that I picked out. I got this lace from, I think I got it from the Crafty Me shop quite some time ago. So I think, I don't need much more than about right there. So I'm going to put that across the bottom. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off now. This is my first time using this lace. It's like a corded lace. It's very pretty. So this, I need to see how far I want this down. So I think I want to put it kind of like that, so I wouldn't need, about where my stitches are is about where I'm going to end up cutting it off. I may end up having to stitch another line across there because I may have to cut it off above my stitch line. So, but I think that's about where I want it to go, across the bottom. Yeah, I think so. So let's pin that on, and then I need to fix my little issue that I'm going to have with it being too long. Yeah, so I think I'm going to trim it and follow this curve of the lace right in there. And of course that's going to mess up my stitch lines. So the way I'm going to do this, let me show you how I'm going to fix my little boo-boo here. I'm going to just pull these out. Come on. There's a tiny stitch in there. Okay, this is going to take me a minute. Here we go. I think I'll take out one more there, one there, one there. Then I'm just going to tie knots in these threads. Okay. So we don't need those tails there. All right, I'm just going to cut this off, going around here. Okay, like that. And then I will go ahead and stitch this together where I cut my threads there. So let me take care of that. Okay, I have went ahead and restitched that across the bottom to fix that little issue. And now I'm going to stitch these flowers onto this little lace piece. I'm going to stitch it onto the bottom. Is that where I want it? Looks a little heavy on one side, doesn't it? A little bit heavier on that side because of that large flower. But I don't think I can do anything about that. If I try to go at an angle, maybe that helps it a little bit. Yeah, I could do it like that. Doesn't look quite so lopsided. Okay, so I'm just going to take some little tiny stitches and attach this lace piece on there. Pretty simple to do. I'm just using a white cotton thread, and I'm just stitching down inside of the petals and I guess those are leaves on there, yeah. So I'm just going to continue to do this all the way around, and I'll be back when that part is done. Okay, moving on. So I think what I want to add to this next, I have, I pulled out some little acrylic flowers, and I think I'm going to do some of these on there. They're this little petal, like kind of almost like daisy flowers. I'm going to tuck a couple of those under there like that, and maybe one at the top. I don't know. Maybe one up there somewhere. Yeah, I think so. So also what I want to do is put, let me get my beading tray over here. I'm going to put some stamens in the center of these little flowers. And I'm going to use these seed beads. These are, I believe, size 11 seed beads. And adding stamens to flowers are real easy to do. Put this up here so you guys can see. And I have my beading needle already threaded here. with a beading thread. And I've already got a knot in it, so I think we'll put one little flower like right there. So what you do is come up from underneath, come up through the center of your flower, right there. I don't know if you can see where my needle is coming out. And these beading needles are teeny, teeny, tiny, so be really careful. I'm going to go back down through there and come back up again. That way I know my thread is secure, because you don't want your beads to fall off. Even though I put a knot in the thread, by taking that extra stitch ought to hold them in place. So then I'm going to pick up 3 of these little tiny seed beads. I think 3 will be enough. And so you'll slide those down, and then you'll go back through the beads, but don't go through that last one that you put on. So go through the first 2 and go back down through that hole. And so can you see that there are 3 little beads standing in the center of that flower now? And I'm going to do 3 of those in there. So hold that one that you just put on there, hold it over out of the way, and take your needle and go back up through the center of the flower. And you want to make sure you don't, the reason I say hold those beads out of the way, is you want to make sure you don't come up back through your beads. So you want to come through the whole of the flower, but not through those beads that you already put on. So then you'll pick up 3 more, and you'll repeat that process. So bring them down and go back through them, but skip the last one that you put on and go back through the first 2, and then back down through the hole in the flower. And then now you'll have 2 in there. So hold those out of the way and come back up through the center of your flower again. If I can find it. There we go. Be careful if you're using these beading needles, because they are super, super sharp. Okay, and then the last one, again, skip your last bead and go back through the first and the second bead. There. Now I hope you can tell that the little flower has 3 little stamens in there. Okay, and then I'm going to tie this off, because if my thread ever broke, I would only lose the beads in one flower, not all of the flowers. So put a knot in there, then you can continue on. We'll put the next flower on over there, and again come up through the center and put on your 3 beads. And I'm just going to continue this, and I'm also going to add one up here at the top. Okay, I've attached those 3 little flowers and put the little beads in the centers for the stamens. And then I also have some embroidery thread out here. I think I'm going to do a few little French knots. So I have already threaded this embroidery needle, and I've got 2 strands of embroidery floss. And so I think I'm going to go in the center of these flowers down here at the bottom. So you'll just bring your needle up. I think I'm going to do 1, maybe 3. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how many we're going to do in there. So bring your needle up, and then you will wrap your needle however many times you want to. My go-to number is 3. So then you'll insert your needle right back in. Don't go into the same spot where you came out with your thread, but close to it. Give your thread a slight pull. You don't want it tight. Hold it in place and just push your needle down, bring it all the way through, and let go of it right at the end, and it forms a little knot. So those are French knots. So I'll do a few more here. So as I was saying again, you wrap your needle however many times you want. I did 3. Go back in there. See, I'm hanging on to that tail. Don't want it tight, but and then just pull it down in, and there's your knot. So I'll do a few more of these, and I'm going to put them in the center of all the flowers. And then we'll be done with our French knots. Thought I would show you this thread, this DMC thread, if you've not done very much embroidery work. It comes, you know, on, it comes in a long skein. Let me show you. I've got some over here. When you buy them, they come like this little sleeve on each end. And of course it has, you know, a number on there. And so no matter where you buy DMC threads, if you're looking for number 319, you shouldn't have to worry about it not matching. It should always match by that number. And I usually take the skein and wrap it on these little cards. And these are plastic, but they also make them paper if you want to use the paper ones. And then I've printed the numbers and stuck them on there, but some of them I handwrite. And but anyway, that's just how I store mine. And then I cut off, maybe it's about a 12-inch piece. You can cut as much as up to 20 inches. You probably don't want to get more than that. It will tend to knot on you a little bit. But it comes in 6 strands, so since I'm only using 2 strands to make my French knots, I would peel off 2 strands. I hope you can tell that there's 2 there. Tell right there I've got 2, right? So there's a couple of ways to do it, to pull it apart. You can just hold on to this and pull, and it will slide right out. If it's not too long, it won't tangle on you. Sometimes it might tangle, and then you're left with the other 4 still intact. And I just put those other 4 right back on my spool. Put the tip, the edge in that little cutout right there. And the proper way, you're supposed to pull these threads apart and then put them back together. So if you go ahead and just pull the 2 apart again, and then put them back together, and then put them in your needle. So that's the proper way to do it. I don't always do that. I don't always pull those 2 apart. I just use them together. Doesn't usually make a big deal out of it. Okay, and then put a knot in the end, and you're ready to go. Okay, so I finished the little French knots in that flower, so I'm going to do this one over here. And I know I'm doing everything left-handed, and it might look backwards to you. Let's see if I can do it right-handed for those of you that do it right-handed. I don't know if I'll be able to do it since I'm a left-handed person, but we'll try. 1, 2, 3 times around. Back in, pull your thread. Hold on to it and pull it through. It's probably a little clumsy looking because I'm not naturally right-handed, but let's try it again. 1, 2, and 3, and then back down through there. I think I just popped one off. 2, and 3. Back in there, pull your threads, pull it down, push it in, and pull it all the way through. There we go. That's probably the best I can do right-handed. So I'll see you guys at the end of this little French knot piece. All right, my little tag is finished. The only thing that I did after you last saw me was I added a tiny little seed bead in the center of that flower and that one and this one down here. And then I've attached it to a card, which, you know, that step was the same every week, so we don't need to show that process every week. But there's my tag for this week, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Have fun making your tag and stay safe out there, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye. Take care.